Welcome to the show. Please hit that like and subscribe button and join the family and stay up to date on upcoming content and new videos. And let's get started. We're not even going to waste any time. The 2020 NBA Finals are here. The Oklahoma City versus the Indiana Pacers. I'm sorry. The Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Indiana Pacers. Both teams, well, I shouldn't say both teams. Only the Indiana Pacers really defy expectations. I would say honestly that we probably expected Oklahoma City to do this from the beginning of the season, but some will say they didn't, some will say they did, but I thought they could make it to the NBA Finals. I didn't know if they would or not, but here they are, so it's not a huge surprise, but the Pacers are a big shock. A huge shock. They got through in the first round. They played the Milwaukee Bucks, got them out of there. They played the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round, banged up, but got them out of there. And then they beat the Knicks in this last series in 6 games, which I predicted. So, congratulations to me on that. I'm going to try to predict this series as well. So, stay tuned for that at the end, or maybe sometime in the middle because I already know who I'm choosing. But did anybody else have this OKC Indiana matchup on their radar back in September, October before the season started and when we knew what the finalized teams were going to look like? Even though Indiana went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, I don't think anybody expected them to go back and make it past that point this year. I didn't. I'm pleasantly surprised, but I think it's going to be a good series. But we're going to have another for the seventh year in a row, seventh year in a row, a new NBA champion. So that's exciting. Two hungry squads that I really think they want it. They're young, they're hungry, they want to prove themselves. People always have a lot to say about young teams, or can they get it done, experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think both teams, especially Oklahoma, have a good mix of youth and veteran experience in the right places. So this is probably why we're here. We know the Thunder, they beat Memphis, they swept them. They had that 7-game series with the Denver Nuggets that could have went either way, honestly. I said whoever won that series is probably going to win the championship. So here we are. So if that doesn't tell you who I think is going to win the championship, then I'll tell you in a little while. Um, like we said, the Pacers, they beat the Knicks, they beat the Cavs, they beat the Bucks. Nobody expected them to be here. I definitely didn't really expect them to be here. I thought it would probably either be Milwaukee or Boston. Those were my 2 picks maybe to come out of the East. I didn't think Cleveland was going to do it. Maybe next year, but I didn't see this year. But I would like to say they're, for me, in the West, Oklahoma was number 1 all year. They had the best record in the NBA by 3 or 4 games. They're just no big surprise for me that they're here. But Indiana, I can't remember the turning point in the season when they started making a run towards the end, but I just never thought that they would be this team. I know there's debate about Haliburton being a superstar or a star. I don't really think it matters. Haliburton could hoop. At the end of the day, Haliburton, he's a hooper and he does his thing. I like him, and that probably doesn't mean much, but I like him, so whatever. But I do think that this NBA Finals, especially in today's age of social media, kind of proves that you don't have to be in a big market anymore to win a championship. You don't have to be in New York, LA, I guess you would say Boston or whatnot. Those are big markets. You don't have to go to those markets or get drafted to those markets or try to get traded to those markets anymore to win a championship. Honestly, I think the best way to win and build a championship team is the way Oklahoma, Indiana, the Orlando Magic now, and a few other teams, San Antonio is doing it. I think that's the best way to build a championship contender through the draft. These are your pieces, the players that you actually want, and then maybe bring in veterans. I think San Antonio is going to try to bring in Kevin Durant. I know everybody thinks Houston maybe, or I'm sure Minnesota's going to make a push for him, but don't be surprised if KD ends up in San Antonio. I think that would be a good fit all the way around for him. Castle, probably Chris Paul go back if he gets traded there. They have Wemby, so that would be a team to truly watch out for if they get Kevin Durant. But anyways, back to the NBA Finals. I don't believe you have to be in a large market anymore. I believe this theory has been proven that it doesn't really exist the last few years. Denver won a championship, Milwaukee won a championship. It's going to be a small market team this year that's going to win the championship. So you don't have to be in a big market to win the championship. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. And this will be a fun. This will be really fun. You know, congratulations to both front offices. And before we get into the game stuff or whatnot, the coaching stuff, Rick Carlisle's been in the NBA Finals before. He's won one. Obviously, Daignault doesn't have any experience in the finals, but he has the better team. And the coaches ain't playing against each other. The players are. All the thing the coaches could do is lay out a game plan, and as long as the players follow that game plan, then may the best team win. And that's really what that's going to come down to. The best team is going to win. It's going to come down to which team imposes their will on this series. Excuse me. And you know, the Pacers with their pace, they're going to run. And before we even get into the Pacers and their pace, the Thunder average in the two games they played like 126 points a game against the Pacers this year. So the Thunder can score against the Pacers. Can the Pacers defend the Thunder? But the Pacers are going to play with pace. They're going to take the ball out of the net. When the Thunder score, they're going to run on defensive rebounds, turnovers, obviously. So both teams are going to have to stay out of trouble with turnovers because we've seen what OKC does when the other team turns the ball over. And clearly we've seen what Indiana can do with their huge runs when they start creating turnovers. So turnovers are going to be very important in this series, I believe. Well, staying out of turnovers, don't get into that type of trouble, foul trouble as well. The Thunder haven't had huge problems with that. Well, yes, they have. Their big guys stay in foul trouble. Outside of that, they've been okay. Indiana, I don't think they've had too much trouble with foul trouble, so that probably won't really be a thing. I really think this is really going to come down to the X and O's, the pace of the Pacers versus the Thunder's defense. Not that the Thunder don't play with pace; they play at Shai's pace, which is like a mid pace, I'll call it, almost like the same pace Luka plays at, but it's his own pace. But they play fast as well. There are lots of times, especially when they create turnovers, that they're running and gunning. So it's not that they don't run; it's just their defense is probably their best feature, which is a good thing going into a series against a high-power offense. So you're going to, at the end of the day, can Indiana force their pace? That's the only way they're going to win. If basically every game is a shootout, in my opinion, that's the only chance they have to win. If every game is a shootout, I don't think they can shut OKC down. And I just don't think they could shut them down for 4 games to win 4 games. I just don't see that happening. It's like, especially on defense, Shai is gonna pick and roll them to death. Damn near every play he has the ball is gonna be a pick and roll of some sorts. They're gonna move the ball, they're gonna get to the basket. They're not this team that's just gonna try to gun you at the 3-point line the entire game. They're gonna get to the basket, they're gonna shoot a lot of free throws, especially Shai. So how are the Pacers and their defense going to deal with that? Because they do have shooters or guys that can shoot, I'll say. Jalen Williams and Chet have been stepping up. So I think Indiana's defense is going to have a hard time. I honestly think Indiana's offense could have trouble. I'm not going to say they're going to have a hard time, but they could definitely have trouble. because, like I said, we've seen what OKC's defense has done to teams. So Indiana can definitely have trouble on offense. One of the biggest questions, I have it here, and I think I've heard it. Who's going to guard Shai? They're probably going to start Neesmith on Shai. I think that's what they consider their defensive stopper, their best defender. So assuming that his ankle is good or whatever, because he's going to need his ankle to be good against Shai, because he'll get punished if it's not. Then it'll probably just be a constant rotation of players guarding Shai throughout the game. I think he'll see the most different defenders throughout the entire series. As far as OKC matching up with Indiana, I think it'll just be straight down. I doubt Shai guards Haliburton just because he doesn't really have to. It'll probably be Jalen Williams. Caruso will probably get some of that. So those will probably be the matchups for Shai and Haliburton. Those are the two key players in this series. I doubt they put Siakam on Shai. They could, but then who's going to guard Chet when they do the two big lineups? Now, when they do the one big, then it'll be a little different. But in a two big scenario, I'm not sure what they do. I think they just guard it straight down and hope for the best. But who do you guys think the second star is that's going to step up for either team? If you go back and check my last video and some of my shorts, I picked Siakam to win the Eastern Conference MVP. I said he was going to be the key factor in them winning that series, and I was also right about that. Clap for me. But so it would have to be Siakam again in this series, obviously. I'll say the same thing I said last time. Siakam's going to have to ball out. He's going to have to get his 25 to 30 every game for them to win. And I don't believe that Haliburton can win the MVP just doing his normal thing. And while his normal thing is great and they're big numbers, for whatever reason, his normal thing ain't going to get him the NBA Finals MVP if they win. So, and for the Thunder, it has to be Jalen Williams, but I think Chet's going to have to get involved too. I think Hartenstein is going to have to really go on the glass to try to avoid some of the running on defense and offense. I think he's going to have to really crash the glass a lot better this series. He did pretty good last series, but obviously he was banging with Rudy, and I know Rudy doesn't get a lot of respect, but Hartenstein is going to have to rebound better this series, and I think he will. So I wouldn't worry too much about that if I'm a Thunder fan. And like I've said, can the Pacers' pace and space overcome OKC's defense or whatnot? I doubt it, but we'll see. And with me doubting it, I'll just go ahead and say that I believe that the OKC Thunder are going to win the NBA Finals. I believe, obviously, that Shai is going to be the MVP. It'd be cool if it was somebody else, but that means that person definitely balled out. So I don't see it happening because I don't think anybody's going to ball out more than him. He has to ball a lot more than anybody else. So I mean, you could play great defense. Iguodala did it and won the MVP, so it's not like it's unheard of. But I just believe Shai is going to win the MVP after the Thunder beat the Pacers in my prediction 5 games. I think this is going to be quick. I think this is going to be a gentleman's sweep. I don't view this series lasting very long. I think we'll be getting ready for the NBA draft and football season next weekend. Because what game 1 is tomorrow. I haven't looked at the schedule, but I'm sure game it could be a sweep. But if my prediction is correct, game 5 is probably next weekend. So after next weekend, the NBA will probably be over, unfortunately. And then we'll be talking off-season stuff and all that stuff like that. I do not believe regular season matters in the playoffs. It honestly, in my opinion, never has. We've seen best teams lose before. We've seen underdogs win before. So I guess with me saying that, I would probably be like, "Oh, the Pacers have a chance," but yeah, they do have a chance, and they're huge underdogs. They are plus 525 underdogs, and that's great money if anybody wants to take that chance. Um, by all means, take that chance. $100 get you 525. So Thunder wouldn't put a bet on them because unless you're putting a big bet, but you're not gonna win a lot of money unless you spend a lot of money. But I would maybe do player props and stuff like that for the Thunder. I wouldn't do any of this taking them as the favorites. I would maybe try to pick them in games if you think you can predict whether it's going to be 4, 5, or 6, or even 7 if you think it's going to go that long. But I'm taking OKC in 5. I don't think I don't think Indiana's going to have much to say about that. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Who wins how many games? I just did that. OKC in 5. Not Lakers in 5 and all that good stuff like that. I'm not even trying to be funny. I think it's going to be OKC in 5. I do not think this is going to last long. All the experts obviously have OKC in 5 or 6 games, or so-called experts, or whatever you want to call those guys. But I'm choosing it because that's what I choose. I don't base my opinions on other people. Last thing we'll talk about before we get into our closing will be legacy. What's this championship mean for SGA? If they win a championship, and I'm pretty sure they will, but let's just say if for right now, this will probably make him the best OKC player. I know it's early in his career still, but I doubt he goes anywhere unless he goes to Toronto at some point, because that's probably the only other place he would want to play. So he'll be the best OKC player. If Indiana wins this series, though, man, Haliburton will definitely be a superstar at the end of that conversation, because for them to win, him and Siakam would have had to have some out of body experiences, and they probably had some monster games. So there you have it. He'll be the man for a while if Indiana somehow wins this series. That would be crazy if they did win. It would be awesome to watch. I think this is going to be a good series. I think everybody should tune in, especially if you like good basketball. See two actual teams play, not a bunch of individuals. You are going to see some one-on-one basketball. That's just people play one-on-one at times. That's how basketball works. But I think that you're going to see a lot of really good team basketball, and for me, that's very exciting. I enjoy seeing a lot of team basketball. I absolutely hate the way Boston plays. I'm sorry if you're a Boston fan, but they just shoot too many threes for my liking. But that's just me. But I'm probably going to get into some bets. I'll probably do some bets tomorrow before the game. Just throw some quick bets out there. I gave a couple already. I haven't seen the player props or anything yet, so I may come back on here and do that. I'm definitely going to try to do a, if not recorded, I want to do a live reaction to the game after the game is over. So stand by for that. Click the like, subscribe button, turn your bell on for notifications and good stuff like that. That way, if and when I do my live, you can pop right in and check me out and give me your opinion along with my live thoughts. And that's really all we have coming up. Going to do some football stuff. We're going to get into the NFL offseason probably. Definitely, obviously, after the NBA finals and stuff is over, we're definitely going to get into a lot of football. And I'll probably pop in and start doing some football and stuff like that here and there. Just because we all love football. And last thing to touch on, we all know that the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. I think that was a dumb move. It's clearly been your best coach since Jeff Van Gundy in the late 90s, so early 2000s, whenever he got fired. I get it. He runs his players into the ground, supposedly. He doesn't do a lot of deep rotation, stuff like that. I mean, we watched it, so obviously we see it. So it's nothing that anybody's making up. But dumb move. Think they should have gave him a year. Think that maybe they should have changed up the assistant coaches or something like that. maybe give him a year to maybe see if he's willing to change his philosophy a little bit. Like, I don't know, something. But to hit reset on the coach right now and think that things are going to get better, and they're almost certainly going to try to trade for Giannis, so now you're going to have more changes, and it ain't going to work. This was the Knicks' best chance. They should have kept it together at least for one more year. They should have ran it back. But especially with the East being wide open, Tatum's out next year. Boston's about to tear it down, make some changes. So the really only team that you have to worry about that was at that level, like that top-notch level this current season, is Cleveland. Philly, we'll see what they are next year, but I don't expect much different than what we got, quite honestly. But yeah, we'll talk more about all of this stuff as the finals go on, as the season ends, and we'll get into it all. It'll be a fun off season, but until then, let's enjoy these NBA finals. I think only 5 games, so let's enjoy these 5 games, in my opinion. And thanks for listening to the show. I truly appreciate everybody for listening, tuning in, watching. Don't forget to don't forget to subscribe. Please let me know your predictions. I will respond. I want to see what you guys think. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.